WRUU-LP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul. Well, I'm Bill Cooper. This show is Savannah at Night, and my guest tonight is Gerrard Smith. Okay, so now, and we'll take you along your path here. You're definitely into comedy in the Savannah scene. I mean, I've not only done comedy with you, but I've seen you when I wasn't appearing, and you have such a unique style. And I think I could say that about all the comedians in Savannah. They have a unique style. But yours, I can't get enough of it. You really impress me for the amount of work you put into it, for the amount of stuff you write for it, and you don't rely on the same old jokes over and over again. You're always writing new stuff. You're always coming up, and yet you still save some of the belly busters that that have worked, and that's the way to do it.
Yeah, I think for me, I guess as far as my style was, I think what kind of helps it is the fact that I don't listen to as much stand-up comedy, honestly, as probably I think most other people or people who are really into comedy listen to a lot of stand-up.
Excuse me, do you mean on TV, like HBO specials or?
Yeah, I guess like HBO specials, just albums in general, anything on Netflix. Like I'll watch whatever I can from time to time, but I think I kind of identify with comedians when I listen to them. I understand where they're coming from, but I don't really study them a whole lot. So I feel like it kind of forced me to just kind of figure it out on my own while on stage. I've
got away from watching on YouTube comedians, with one exception. Norm Macdonald, he cracks me up to the nth. And but he's so clever and so zany that I have, it's not a fear, but I don't want to start styling myself after another comedian.
Yeah.
And that's why I pretty much stay away from watching comedians. I don't want any influence. I want, it takes a lot to write your own stuff, and you're proud of it, and I am too, of what I do, and I just don't want that influence to seep into what I do.
Yeah, I think I heard when I was, like, years ago, I remember listening to somebody was asking a musician. It's like, it was a musician that I listened to on a regular basis. Somebody was interviewing them and asking, oh, so what are you listening to right now? And he was, I think, working on a new album at the time. And he said, I'm listening to no one right now because I don't want any of that to influence how I make my album.
And it will seep in.
Yeah.
You don't have to go looking for it. It will seep in, and before you know, you say, "Wow, why did I say that?" And then you think, "Uh-oh."
Yeah. Yeah. And with comedy, that's it's something sometimes you have to be aware of. Sometimes you'll come up with a joke, and like I know there have been times I'll come up with a joke, and I'll stop and I'll think, and I'll say to myself, "Did I hear somebody else make that joke before, or did I come up with that?"
I've heard people told me, "Oh, I heard that years ago." And I'm there. Well, you may have heard it years ago, but I didn't.
Yeah.
Very few times does that happen. Oh, I heard that years ago. I just want to tell you, I never took it from anyone else.
Yeah.
If that was out years ago, it's a coincidence only because you have to have some pride in yourself.
Yeah. I know people talk about parallel thinking, where sometimes two people come up with the same idea at the same time. I think there have been recently multiple comedians have addressed the issue of catcalling, and I've heard it just this year, 2017. They've
was it similar?
They all kind of have the exact same idea. They take the idea of like catcalling is considered a rude thing, and they basically say, well, what if somebody did it in a nice way and they were just only yelling nice things at people? Right. And I've heard multiple comedians have done that. They're not copying each other. They just all came up with the same idea at the same time.
I look at it this way. There's 7.5 billion people on the planet. If there were no coincidences, that'd be the biggest coincidence.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. I've heard that I know at least one of my jokes is very similar to something that came out recently also, so I've kind of avoided it, and I'm going to listen to the other joke to see how similar it is to mine, so I can figure out where to change it.
Oh, contact him and tell him how much he owes you.
Yeah.
Now, I found I've always had an interest in arts. I like to paint and draw. I don't do it at a regular basis, but I enjoy that. I like poetry. I don't do it at a regular basis. I've actually written a couple of poems. I wrote a song that I have copywritten. I'm very proud of. I wrote a short story, and once again, I'm very proud of it. Do you find that, not because you're in comedy, but you have that's an art, do you find an appreciation for the other arts too, whether or not you participate in them?
I think so. I think I probably have a greater appreciation for performance art, like anything that has to be performed. Whether reading poetry or performing music, I understand what it's like now being on stage. I understand now people needing their quiet time before going on stage.
Right.
Like I used to see sometimes you'd see before going on stage, the musicians or comedians, they'd just be standing somewhere by themselves, not saying anything to anybody, and it's like I understand that now. You
got to get in the frame of mind. Yeah. You have to have everything working.
Yeah.
You can write a setup, and it's in your mind, but now you got to run it over 10, 15, 20 times and make sure it comes out smoothly.
Yeah.
So, okay, when you were a kid, when you were a young boy, were your parents, okay, now don't tell me you didn't always have a sense of humor, because I know you did. I never asked you this. If you're a comedian, this just didn't come when you when you hit 21.
Yeah.
So, were your parents okay with your sense of humor is my question.
Oh, yeah, definitely. They a lot of it comes from them. My dad, I guess, is probably very similar to, like, when I see you, the way you interact with people, whether you know them or not, you always just have to crack a joke. My dad is very much the same way. Like, he goes to a restaurant, he has to mess with the waiter. And
in a good way.
Yeah. In a good way. In a good way. It's not mean spirited at all.
No, absolutely.
He's just having fun.
Yeah.
And so it's always fun. He was always that way. My mom is she's always had a good sense of humor. She's probably not as open as my dad. She's more like me. She's a little more quiet, reserved in public, but she still has a real good sense of humor too. One thing I remember growing up was we would take long car rides from usually, I think we lived in Georgetown and Myrtle Beach for a long time, and usually from there it was like about a 3 to 4 hour drive to Beaufort, which is where my dad's side of the family is.
Okay.
And we'd go there on a regular basis. So we'd spend 3 or 4 hours in the car with our parents, and me and my brother would be in the back seat, parents in the front seat, and my dad would always start it. He would just start messing with my mom. Like sometimes he just reach his hand over, put his finger in her face, and then eventually it would just become almost a war between the two of them. But it was I mean, they were having fun, but they just had to, like, they were always trying to get the last word in on each other. If one of them messed up at any time during the day, like tripped over their words or tripped, or like, I don't know, in public or something like that, they had to hear about it the entire day from the other one. And eventually my brother and I, we got old enough that we started getting in on it, and that's
and they were okay with that.
Yeah, and it's like we've always had a good sense of humor. And I've always been, of the four, the comedian, even though, like, in public, of the four of us, I'm the most quiet.
Right.
With the four of us together, I was always the comedian of the family. So yeah, I guess me becoming a stand-up comedian, I think to my parents it was both a shock and kind of but it made sense at the same time to them, because they always knew me as someone who liked to tell jokes, but I was always a very quiet person who didn't really like to talk much in public. So me telling jokes isn't what surprises them. Me getting up in front of an audience on stage is what surprises them.
And I have to add to that, I've known you, I don't know, 3 or 4 years now, I think.
Yeah.
And you are the quietest one in the group, and it's, a group roughly 20, and it grows and shrinks as people move.
Yeah.
Of the same comedian group in the city. And you are definitely the quietest. I mean, I remember telling Mary Ann, I I got Gerrard to say more than hated me tonight.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
I was going to write it down, but then he might see me,
Yeah.
And that's the way you are, and I understand that. And you might have been reflecting on what you were going to do that night, but whatever it was tough getting words out of you, and it wasn't anything bad about it. I understood that was your personality. But then when I saw you go up on the stage, a whole different person steps on that stage. You have complete control. You are actually another person. That's the only way to describe it.
Yeah.
So opposed to, your normal demeanor. And it works excellently. You have your sets, as I say. If anyone hasn't seen you in Savannah, they're the ones that are missing out, because you truly are right at the top of the charts there, with others. I mean, but you're one of the best, and for good reason. As I say, you write good stuff, you have a good presence, but you morph from quiet, hi, that was it, hi, to whoa, you grab that microphone, and it's like you're really a different person now. You have to notice the difference.
Yeah, I definitely know. On stage, I'm definitely more, I guess, a little more arrogant, more aggressive on stage, and I guess that comes from the fact that you have to take control of the room. That I know what it's like to bomb. And
we all do.
Yeah, we all know it's like the bomb.
Part of doing it. You have to go through that.
Yeah, and no one likes to bomb, and that feeling of not wanting to bomb is enough to push me to be different than I am in I guess normal situations. It's I feel like I have to, I don't know, I have to have chest out. Just
right.
For
and man, does it work? It does. As I say, you grab the audience. You just reach out and grab them, and then you have this thing that you have pauses that are, first time I heard you, I'm saying, oh no, he forgot his set, he forgot his line, and it doesn't. That pause is part of your shtick.
Yeah,
and boy, does that work too! Because all of a sudden, the room is dead quiet, and everyone's looking at you, and then bang, you hit us with a great punchline.
Yeah. I feel like I discovered that by accident, basically. Just early on, there were times where I was thinking about what I was supposed to say next, because I've always done longer jokes. Even when I first started, all my jokes were
stories.
I've always done more long form jokes.
Yeah.
And there were times where, honestly, because my jokes were so long, I would have to stop and really think about where am I going next. And sometimes it'd be in an awkward spot. Sometimes it'd be in a spot where I just hit a punchline and I stop, think about where I'm supposed to go with the joke next, and then more laughs will start coming. Right. And eventually I started figuring out, if I stop at certain places, people will keep laughing, or sometimes laugh even more than when I first hit the punchline. And so that's something I just kind of discovered.
It's part of your resume now, and does it work? As I say, once again, this is your style. This is what works for you. Let's get back to stepping up on the stage. Because of my age, I'm in my 70s, so a lot of the younger comedians that first start, they come to me as if I've been doing it, and most of you have been doing it longer than me. I've only been doing it slightly more than 4 years, but they'll come to me and they'll ask me different things about it, and I try to tell them, if it's your first time up, do not worry if you bomb. If you don't get a laugh, you wanted to do it. There's a reason you're going up there, because A, you don't ever forget you wanted to do it, and B, it takes a ton of guts to stand up there with a microphone in front of strangers. That's not your family, that's not your friends, that's not people you work with, and to try to make them laugh over something you wrote, and you think it's funny or you wouldn't be up there staying. Yeah. But when you get no reaction from it, I emphasize, do not let it bother you. Don't let it stop you from coming back. The first 2 times I did comedy, and Melanie Goldie is the one that, said, talked me into it. Bill, you got to do it. I says, oh, I have to do it. What? I says, I've never done it. What do you mean I have to do it? I was 69 years old. She says, no, you'd be good. You'd be good. So she talked me into it, and I went on at the late Taco Abajo when it was down there, and I did a set. And I thought it was pretty good. and nothing, not a ripple, maybe one little snicker. And it wasn't a big crowd, though. So it was hard to judge by that. But when I walked off the stage, I did not let it bother. It didn't hurt me in the least. I smiled, and I thought, I will figure this out.
Yeah.
I come back the next week and got maybe 1 or 2 laughs, and then I was hooked.
Yeah.
Once you get that laugh, that's your paycheck.
Yeah, I remember the very first time I did comedy, I was just going to try it. And that was just something I just wanted to do it just to say I did it once. And I had this whole, all my jokes were, it was one continuous, each joke was linked to the next and everything.
Right.
It wasn't like just a bunch of separate jokes. So I had this whole thing planned out from beginning to end. And it was like, so I was still doing long form from the very beginning. And it started out pretty good. But towards the end, I felt like I started to lose my place. I forgot where certain punchlines were going.
Right.
And towards the end, I was like, oh, that did not go exactly the way I wanted it to. And I guess that perfectionist started nagging at me. And back then, I think we still had a Wednesday show at when they used to have, was it Murphy's?
Yes.
Yeah, Murphy's Law.
Right. Like upstairs there.
Yeah, the one,
upstairs.
the little room, the hot room upstairs. Yeah. Yeah. So I immediately had to go to that one the very next night to make up for the mistakes that I made the first time. And then that time it went a little better, but it still wasn't perfect. So I had to go back again. And for me, it became like the addiction of, partly I think it's an addiction to the laughs, but also for me, partly it was that chasing perfection, which you'll never reach.
No, but it's human nature.
Yeah.
You want to succeed. Everyone wants to succeed. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
It's just something you do. And anyway, to get back to the new ones, as I say, if they come off and say I was awful, I'll say, listen, you would have learned nothing if you did it the first time and you nailed it.
Yeah.
You'd have learned nothing. In fact, that might have hurt you.
Yeah.
Because you figure it's going to be that way all the time. You learn more, and I mean it. You learn more from your failures than you ever will. I can remember good things that happened to me, but I can't forget bad things that did.
Yeah.
And I think that's my drive. That's the hand on my back that, all right, I goofed it up. I don't beat myself up over it. I'm not going to.
Yeah.
It's silly to.
Yeah.
But I think failure is a part of this. Even the best comedians, you've heard sets, someone that you love thinks great, and then you've heard sets they've done to say, whoa, they mailed it in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, everyone has a bad day, so you can't let it bust you.
Yeah, I was just telling one of the new comedians, Wednesday night, we had a show, we had us open mic at It's Totally Awesome Bar, and it was a really quiet audience. And so everybody struggled that night.
Right.
And I could tell it really kind of got to this one guy. He was like, he's brand new. I could tell it was getting to him. Mm-hmm. So I went up to him. I told him, basically that this is a good night. Like, this is kind of why we do this. We got 3 weekly shows. One of them is usually really good. The other 2 are very rough. And you have to make...
newer. And it depends, once again, on the crowd. How many people are coming in. Makes a huge difference. When that room is full, most of them are there to hear comedy.
Yeah.
But when it's not too many people in it, half of them aren't there to hear comedy. So you really have a limited audience.
Yeah, but it makes you work harder.
Oh, truly.
It makes you work a lot harder, and it's worth it. Because that night, I remember I was sitting in the back of the room, and I was watching everybody, like, including myself. I think I struggled a little bit that night, too. And I was just watching everybody struggle. And instead of being, like, depressed over how hard that night was going, I remember, like, looking over at the person next to me and being like, this is a good night. Because everybody is being forced to grow tonight. And
I'm going to get to that in 1 second. Just want to remind people, I'm Bill Cooper. This show is Savannah at Night. And my guest tonight is Gerrard Smith. So, speaking of the other night there, this is another thing. I'm just praising you because you deserve it. When you put together that thing where you blew the whistle and the horn and changed to crowd work, to, read a card that's in your pocket, to set, whatever the result was of that, and there wasn't a big audience there, but whatever, you tried something different, you tried something good, and that was I looked at that as a working exercise for all the comedians.
Yeah.
I think my weakness is in crowd work.
Yeah, me too.
It's definitely my weakness. So to be able to go over and talk to the crowd, and it worked very well. It was easier than I thought. But you seem to, people seem to stay away from what they don't think they're good at, and that's not good.
Yeah.
You have to try what you're not good at until you figure that out and become fluid in it.
Yeah, I think that's something that I became more aware of as I got older. Probably like mid to late 20s, I started realizing it's good to really just force yourself into tough situations. Sometimes it's like you'll be surprised at what you can get through.
Absolutely. And it's a maturing part.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a part of maturing. As
Yeah.
I say, I can't tell people about maturing being just a kid of 73.
Yeah.
Like people say, Bill, you look younger. Why don't you lie about your age? I'm saying I would if it changed it, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
So there's no point in lying about it. That's what I am, and I'm fine with it. As I say, glad to get here. It's been a tough ride sometime, but it's been a good ride mostly. Glad to get here.
Yep.
Okay, let's see. Tell us a little bit about your brother.
Oh, well, he
And what's his name, please?
His name is Willie Smith.
Mm-hmm.
So, man, I of course have always grown up calling him Will, so he's actually Will Smith.
Sure.
I
know him well.
Yeah. But he's 2 years older than me. But it's weird because we've always grown up as like. It's rare that he's kind of like been like an older brother. We've always just sort of been brothers,
like pals. Too.
Yeah, basically. And
still are, and that's
terrific. Yeah. We've always gotten along really well. Always worked together really well.
Nice?
So he I think he's the reason probably why I felt more confident to pursue my creative side instead of because I was always a straight A student.
Excuse
me. Yeah.
What's an A? Does that go above my marks? Yeah, I know it does, but how far?
I was always like straight A. I was always kind of like, of course you're a straight A student. Everybody always tells you, oh, you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer or something like that.
Yeah.
And so for a long time, that's just what I thought I was supposed to do. But I was always into, the more creative things. My brother, he started drawing at a very young age, and because I used to do everything he did, so if he was drawing, then I wanted to draw.
Right, I get it. Yeah.
Then I think one day we found like this notebook that some kid in one of my mom's classes. My mom, she was a music teacher, and one of her classes, some kid left his notebook, and apparently all day throughout school, instead of taking notes or anything, he just drew little cartoon characters that he created, and we kept flipping through that notebook and just seeing all his own cartoon characters, and we're like, this is like a kid. This isn't, because back then, cartoons were something that were on TV.
Right, Saturday morning.
Yeah,
right.
You didn't you thought of it as something that was made by professionals.
Yep.
You didn't think
Barbera.
Yeah, you didn't think about the fact that average everyday people become those professionals and create those characters that you see on TV. So it's like our minds were blown. We're like, this guy is creating his own cartoon characters. He's only in middle school. We never figured out who the notebook belonged to, but eventually we started drawing. My brother started creating his own superheroes, so I was just like, I'm going to create my own superheroes. And then he each
Do
time
you have one called Old Bill?
Old Bill? Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. Yeah. Yeah, but so he really pursued the drawing thing. He stuck with it. I kind of didn't, because once again kept my head in the books.
Yeah.
And but it wasn't until I really after I graduated college, I decided I'm going to commit to the things that I've always wanted to do, but always felt like maybe I shouldn't do because I'm in this academic field, because I felt like I should have been pursuing computer science.
But you always can go back to that.
Yeah, I can go back to it.
You have the foundation is there if you have to or if you want to, But right now, it's terrific. Do what you like to do.
Yeah.
I retired 25 years ago this year. And as I said, I'm doing things I want to do rather than things I have to do.
Yeah.
I had to support a family. I had to work, and I did. And now, I'm doing things I love doing, and I get all the support in the world from my wife, Mary Ann. Anything I want to do, comedy, acting, anything, she has totally been behind me, loves it. And just the fact that it keeps me busy and not bothering her, I think might be one of her drives.
Yeah.
But it's just that, you have to have that support. It goes back to, as you said, your parents. My parents were the same way. I could crack my father up, who could crack anyone up. My mother had a limit on humor.
Yeah.
Once you hit that limit, you better back off. And I didn't want to get in trouble with Mom.
Yeah.
So, I would have to back off. But my outlet was school. You just said you were an A student. Well, guess what? I went to school to play with my friends.
Yeah.
And that was it. And to disrupt the class and to be an idiot and to drive those poor teachers to an early retirement. And that was it. I was very immature. I was 16 my whole senior year. I was really younger than anyone else in the class, except for two girls who, as a miracle, were actually a couple of days younger than me. But I was immature, and I didn't take school seriously. And then when I got out for a while and I had to work and support a family, I went back to school nights, and because I knew that I had goofed it up myself, and it was amazing how much higher my marks were when I was paying for the school.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I couldn't appreciate it. School was free. Well, not really free. Our parents are paying taxes for it. It wasn't really free. But I mean, that it's just, once you mature, you realize, geez, I wasted some time. I don't have to waste it forever.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah, I think, honestly, I think what really was a changing point for me was when I went through my first 3 years of college. And then, it was just continuation of school. I had been in school since I was, a kid all the way through high school. And then I went to college, just was continuing everything that I've done before. Yeah. And after my junior year, I had to take a year off. So that year I stayed with my mom, and I worked at a restaurant just as a fry cook for a year straight. Yeah. And really there was
hard work.
Yeah. And there was nothing I had, or nothing really to do to keep myself entertained much at home. I just kind of was finding ways to keep myself from being bored when I got off work. Wasn't really involved in any type of projects or anything. So that went on for a full year. I came back to school for my senior year, and I think I was a member of, I was like vice president of a club. I got involved in Taekwondo. I started taking art classes. I got a job as a student police officer. I had like a packed schedule.
And I'll bet you were enthusiastic about all those things.
Yeah.
Isn't that nice? And when you find different worlds open up and you try them, boy, that is cool.
Yeah, and it's like, I think for that repetitive work that I was doing for a year is like, I got so tired of it that as soon as I was back in school, I just launched myself into anything I possibly could.
Right. And that's good, because some people, if they get used to boredom and think it's okay, it's a huge mistake.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to do a station identification here. This is Bill Cooper with my guest, Gerrard Smith, on Savannah at Night. And we are WRUU-LP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM. WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul. If your business enjoys our programming on WRUU-LP, please support the station with a donation. Let your customers, neighbors, and friends know that you share our vision of building a thriving community based on diverse, vibrant radio programming. As a business partner, our listeners will know you support Savannah's only broad-based community radio station. Become a tower sponsor or underwriter. To check out the levels of corporate sponsorship and to donate, go to www.wruu.org-business. Again, to check out the levels of corporate sponsorship and to donate, go to www.wruu.org/business. Thank you for listening and supporting WRUU-LP.
This portion of WRUU-LP Savannah Soundings programming is made possible by a grant from Sentient Bean, offering fair trade coffee, vegan and vegetarian food, and breakfast all day. Located at 13 East Park Avenue, across the street from the tennis courts at Forsyth Park. Our menu and special events listings can be found at sentientbean.com.
Okay, here we are back again now with Gerrard Smith, my guest, and we're just talking about the progression, even from a kid on up. You talked about, how close you and your brother were, and I had that same closeness with my older sister. She's a year and a half older than me, and we would do things, and once again, I got to bring you back to the days when almost no one had a television. And that the only time you'd see a moving picture was at the show. Now, I was 4 years old, had never been to a movie, had never seen a television. And my sister says one night, she says, let's go in the front room. You want to go to the movies? And I'm there. In the front room, there's movies? She says, yeah, I'll show you. Bring the kitchen chair. So we each dragged the kitchen chair in. We put them beside each other. She shut the lights off in the room and opened the blinds. And then when a car went by, you know how the light goes around the wall?
Yeah.
She says, wow, look, movies. I'm 4 years old thinking, it can't get better than this. Oh, here comes another car. Whoa. And then one would come the other way. And that was it. That was a treat for a 4-year-old. Yeah. Today, 4-year-olds have their own cell phone.
Yeah.
I mean, they're bored silly if you talk about something like that. I was enthralled. And then when she went to kindergarten a year before me, that was the first time I knew loneliness. I mean, my dad was at work. My mom was in the kitchen taking care of the house. But I was really lonely because my sister wasn't there. And I remember standing at the window waiting for her to come home. And when she came home and had a picture of something she had drawn, or a letter, they made the letter A or B or C, I'd say, give me that. And I had to copy it. I had to find out what I really, then I was, at that young age, I was interested in learning because my sister, my pal, who they took away from me for 6 hours a day, finally came home, and I didn't have to stand at the window waiting for her.
Yeah, I think, I was the same way with my brother. I think I was the same way with my brother. I remember when we were kids, like, he went to school first, and I remember he would, like, come back home with homework.
Right.
And my, I think I might have been in kindergarten or something at the time, so I really didn't have homework. But, after school, I was waiting to, either play with him or, like, do whatever else we were going to do. And I had to wait for him to finish his homework. My mom would be sitting there, working with him on his homework. And, of course, he's frustrated because he doesn't want to do this. And I'm sitting there like, man, I wish I had homework. Because, like, and, like, my brother, he would always tell me, he's like, no, you don't. At the time, I couldn't understand. I wanted to do whatever he was doing.
In fact, I remember one of the games I had when my sister was at school, when there was an empty round oatmeal box. They were round. I'd ask my mother for it, and as I say, I was 4 years old, but I remember this as if it were yesterday. And the apartment we lived in, it was an old building, so the floors weren't level. And I would just sit in the kitchen while she was cooking or doing whatever she was doing, and I'd find the perfect place to sit, and I would push the box in front of me, and it would roll back to me. And this is what I had to do till my sister come home. Why did you take my sister away? We had fun. Yeah. We went to the movies.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's I think I was lucky that I have grown up with like a brother that I actually got along with. I think
isn't that nice?
Yeah, because I guess the fact that we're able to work on a comic book together, the fact that we have two different skills that can, like, my being able to tell stories and his being able to draw,
they're melded.
That went together. Terrific. Yeah, it was incredibly lucky, and he's always wanted to do comic books, so I just called him and I said, hey, why don't we do what we've always talked about doing? And just go ahead and just get started. And he was all for it, and so we started the comic book. We started a website, and we started the comic in 2010. And I guess we've been basically doing that ever since.
That's terrific. What's the name of the comic strip?
It's called Blackguard.
Blackguard.
Yeah.
I've seen some of the drawings on it, and now your brother does the artwork on it.
Yeah, he does all the artwork.
It's excellent.
Yeah, he does like all of his coloring. He does with marker, which is I guess kind of rare. But he got really good with. I think they're Prismacolor markers or something like that. But yeah, everything he does is like marker, pencil, ink. He doesn't do any digital stuff, but he's kind of crafted his own style, his own look.
It's it makes sense to me. Whatever you're comfortable with, that's what you should run with.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So you've kept that relationship, that strong relationship with your brother all these years. That's just a good story. I like good family stories, and that really is a good one.
Yeah.
That's nice. Okay. Anything I haven't covered that you'd like to bring up?
I guess we we haven't really talked about was it 21 Nuke Salute or
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And that is a podcast that you have with
yes.
Jay Bogus.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we we just like to have like really mostly comedians.
Right.
We like having like the comedians of the scene just come by and talk with us. We really don't talk about anything in particular. We just find whatever is interesting at the moment. And really, I think it's just like, I think it's fun because it's just comedians having fun talking to each other, just having a conversation. That's really all it is.
I know it is, and you and Jay did me a favor and came over to my house one time and recorded it. I had a ball.
Yeah.
It really was. It was fun to do, and you two are easy to talk with, and it was just it rolled. That whatever it was, an hour that just rolled like nothing. Yeah.
I think we haven't had Robert Haas on the podcast yet. I think we should.
Oh, he has to be. He was my first guest on this show, and for those of you listening, Robert Haas is a rabbi here in Savannah, and he is one of the funniest guys you ever want to meet. He comes to comedy gigs all over the city, and he is just terrific. He gets your attention, and he knows how to do it. He will put the audience down, and they're laughing at it. They love it the way he does it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it's good, clean comedy, and he knows how to get your attention. And he's as you do it with your style, he does it very low key and soft and easy. But boy, it's just as powerful. I mean, he knows how to do it.
Yeah, he has a very good sense of just timing. Like he understands comedic timing very well. So that's one thing as from the first time I saw him, I immediately noticed that about him. Like his timing is something that you can't really teach someone.
No.
They just have to figure it out. Either they have it or sometimes they figure it out on their own, but you can't teach it. You can't tell somebody how to do it.
How many times has someone told you a joke, and it probably wasn't a bad joke, but they couldn't tell it with the timing it needed?
Yeah.
They didn't have the pause down. They rushed through it, or they dragged it out too long.
Yep.
And that one of the keys I say, if you're going to tell someone a joke, never ever start off saying, "Wait till you hear this joke, you'll love it."
Yeah.
Because they put, whether they know it or not, they put their defenses up, and inside they're saying, "Yeah, prove it."
Yeah.
Best joke I ever heard. Well, and it's tough to deliver it. Then just start telling them a joke.
Yeah, that's why I never tell someone a joke when they find out I'm a comedian. They're like, "Tell me a joke," because it's very rare that it's going to live up to your expectations, and it's just not the same as being on stage.
No, it isn't. And it's a thing to judge you, and maybe I think they mean it well. I don't think it's a bad thing that they do that. But how many comedians did you know before you got into it? Very few.
Yeah.
So I understand the question. If someone, tell me a joke, and that, I'll say, well, tell me about your parents.
Yeah.
I'll help you with it.
Yeah.
All right. So as I say, we keep busy. As you said earlier, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, there's comedy every single week. I host a show at Foxy Loxy the third Friday of the month. And then The Sentient Bean has one the second Thursday of the month. It is really growing. Since I've been involved in it, it was pretty much one night a week, and then the Wormhole would have out-of-town comedians come in and a special show and that. But that was pretty much it for comedy in Savannah.
Yeah.
And some of the earlier ones have moved on. Brendan Kiefer has moved on.
Yeah.
And some of those have moved on. Or Shane Gray doesn't do it too much anymore. He has a family now, and I understand that. You know, it gets you away from it. But they're the ones that really cut the ground for us. That kept it going until we came along and expanded it and kept it going even further. So, you know, in our own way, we owe them a little gratitude.
Yeah, they put in a lot of
Tara
work.
Scott, she's been doing it a long time.
Yeah, they put in a lot of work to, I guess, make it what it is now. I feel a certain amount of dedication to the scene now, just because I've watched it grow from when I first started, and like you said, we had like maybe 1 or 2 nights a week, and it was just you had rare opportunities to go up on stage.
Right.
I remember it used to be a time where Tuesdays were like just the absolute highlight of my week, and I mean now it's like I can do comedy most nights of the week. But like it used to be because it was so rare. But like I've seen it grow so much now that I feel like I have an attachment to the scene where I want to see where it goes next. Like I'm invested.
Yeah, and I will go when I'm not performing just to support the others that are up there, because it is a group. It's like our own family. It is a group, and everyone's in it. Everyone's welcome in it, and we always encourage everyone in it. And as I say, I will go even if I'm not doing it. But I found that I can't do it 4 nights a week. I did it 3, and I'm saying, whoa, because I like to keep it fresh. I like to not only use some of my best older material, but I like to meld in with newer stuff I've written in that. And I don't want to go up there and do junk just to go on stage. So I've said no, but I'll still go there when I can and support, you know, the others that are going up there more often.
Yeah. Last week I did. Monday through Friday, I did a set each day of every day of the week, every weekday. Yeah. Or actually, no, one of them I didn't really. Well, yeah, I did do a set the night I hosted. I did a set then too, but that was a rough week.
Yeah, it can be, as I say, because you're thinking about it during the day.
Yeah. And
I'm doing my errands, which I'm required to do, and you know, because I'm a good husband. Just ask me. And then, but you're thinking about it. It's on your mind. Even if you go to the store, you're doing an errand, you say, oh, yeah, what can I get this joke almost there, but it isn't there yet. Yeah. And it doesn't, it's not just you go 5 minutes before you go on stage, you think of a set and do it.
Oh, yeah.
It takes prep work. Even for a 5 to 10 minute set, it takes prep work.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't relax until the set is over.
Exactly.
If I get to the bar, and even if I don't go up until, let's say if the show starts at 9:30 and I don't go up till 10:30, that's like I'm not relaxed from 9:30 to 10:30. No. I'm thinking about at some point I have to go up on stage.
Yes. Yeah, and that's where we love it. I'm a ham bone. I know I was when I was a kid. I'm still a ham bone. It never changes.
Yeah.
And it's nice. I mean, I think everyone has a sense of humor. But, you know, to develop it to our point of ridiculousness, one of the things I like when you do a set is you say, and everyone's roaring at it, and all of a sudden you'll stop and you'll smile and you'll pause and you'll smile and you'll say, well, that's all I have on that. Yeah. It's like they're expecting it. It's a great story. Come on. That's all I have on it. You know, and you're just honest with them and they love it. It's just, you know, your unique style.
Yeah. Being honest with the audience is like, it works very well. Like not trying to be something that you're not. Just
in anything.
Yeah, just
not just
just letting them know what's going on, what's going through. If you mess up on a joke, just let the audience know. Oh, I messed up there.
Right.
A lot of times you can turn it around. Don't be awkward about it.
No, you can't. I remember saying, you know, oops, I must have stepped on some toes because I think it's funny and no one else in here does. Yeah. So I must have stepped on some toes with that one. I'll try to be careful, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So, comedy school. Let's start one. Yeah. We'll teach them, we'll show them, and we'll give them the ropes from the old perspective to the young. And as I
Yeah.
say, when I started doing comedy, I knew I had to connect with an audience I knew nothing about. People
Yeah.
in their 20s. What do I know about people in their 20s? Nothing. I mean, basically nothing. I did acting with a lot of scared kids, but it was that was for a separate purpose. As far as trying to make you laugh, I don't know what songs you listen to. I don't know what you read. How do I connect with you? That was my biggest problem. Anyway, we're wrapping it up. Gerrard, you've been a terrific host here on Savannah at Night. I thank you. I'm Bill Cooper, the host, and I thank WRUU for having this show. And I'll give you the station identification. It's WRUU LP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings Community